continue to follow breaking news out of San Bernardino, where the North Fire has jumped the 15 freeway near the El Cajon Pass. You are looking at live pictures. Water dropping planes are circling and cars are on fire. At least 5 cars on the freeway have already burned. Right now, firefighters are urging drivers to stay in cars as water drops can cause injury.
And this is just downright startling as we look at these live pictures, and you can see these cars engulfed in flame there, and we can only hope that anyone that was in those cars was able to get out. 500 acres have also burned, and mandatory evacuations have been ordered for the Baldy Mesa community. The closure of all southbound and northbound lanes of the 15 came about an hour ago, and we will, of course, continue to follow this. And, oh my goodness, as you look at these vehicles.
That's terrifying, and nobody can go anywhere.
The other thing about this is it's not as if these are just near the edge of the freeway.
Right.
These are vehicles in middle lanes here that are burning, and we assume because of embers or something that came from the fire that was happening around them. But you just, my goodness.
Yeah, those are pretty amazing pictures.
I'm looking around trying to see people that might be standing around on the freeway, or somebody, you know, I mean, and there are other vehicles very close to those.
Yeah.
So there are 2 spots as they pull out. You can see 2 different spots here where vehicles are burning. And then you wonder if, you know, can this spread then from one vehicle to another? And then what's going through the minds of the people is, and I've never seen this before, a water drop on the burning vehicles that we just saw right there.
That was spot on, that water drop.
Oh yeah, these guys are very good. So and then we saw a little explosion there from one of the vehicles. But you wonder what's going through the mind, because you see several vehicles, and firefighters are recommending that people stay in their cars, which might be a tough thing to do when you're seeing other vehicles burn at this point. But that's what they're telling people to do. So what do you think at this point? You're trapped. You can't go anywhere. You can't go back. You can't go forward. And you're seeing a scene like this.
Yeah, that's pretty terrifying. And as you said, I think I just saw one person on the side of the freeway there. I wonder if he had gotten out. And you wonder if that warning just applies to the cars further away, because if you're right there, it seems you're torn between getting hit with the water drop and the fire. And
we still don't know what started this fire. That cause remains under investigation. Number of vehicles that have burned now has been raised to at least 8. And again, as you see the veracity of these cars burning, you wonder whether or not it's just going to continue to spread to other cars. Certainly, I don't know, if I was in a vehicle that close to another burning car, it would be, you'd be hard-pressed to stay in your car. You'd want to get out and clear yourself away from the flames. Yes,
I think I'd choose the water drop over the fire, that's for sure.
All right, we'll continue, to keep close eye on this. The 15 freeway, and again, remind me exactly the exact area where we are. Does the producer? The El Cajon Pass shut down in both directions, not just cars, but now we can see here in this shot a semi-truck burning as well. Just an unbelievable scene happening here.
Up to 10 vehicles now I'm hearing. I have never seen anything like this.
Right, and what we've been watching, if you've just joined us, we're following what is a brush fire that has burned several acres in the El Cajon Pass, but also burned very near the 15 freeway, and as you can see, caught cars on fire apparently, as well as this semi-truck that's burning. And at this point, we're not sure whether or not the fire that's burning has been just one fire from a vehicle, one vehicle to the next. We're pausing it as our producer gives us more information, and now we have, if I heard you correctly, multi-casualty fire, which means maybe perhaps here we have loss of life in terms of people that are in these vehicles, we would assume. But we don't know that for sure. Right now, all we've been told is multi-casualty. We don't know exactly where that's been. But in looking at this scene, seeing the cars that are burning, and then you can see the progression of the fire here that started all of this, and hundreds and hundreds of acres at this point burning and continuing to burn. But the real story at this point along the 15 freeway in the El Cajon Pass and the vehicles that we were watching burning there.
Now, I think when we first went to this story, we were hearing that the water chopping helicopter was grounded because of a drone activity, but now we can clearly see those helicopters back in the air. At least we saw one. Right,
and we saw the accuracy that they had in terms of getting the those water drops on those burning vehicles. And now we're hearing that an evacuation center has been set up at Serrano High School in the area. But again, this just incredible, as we pan over here to the greater expanse of the fire, back on the 15 freeway, at least 10 vehicles burning, multi-casualty, as we're hearing from the fire department. We're not sure exactly what that means, but we would assume that there has been loss of life in terms of people in those vehicles. We've seen several cars on fire, a semi on fire, and at this point you don't know whether or not the fire needs the rest of the main, the brush fire anymore, whether the vehicles burning themselves are catching one vehicle to the next.
And hard to tell from those pictures how close that is to homes in the area.
And whether or not, we do know that there are evacuations underway as far as homes are concerned. Hard to tell, as you said, from these pictures whether or not homes are immediately threatened. Well, we would assume they are if there are evacuations underway, but or whether there's been any loss of structures. We don't know that as of now, but we do know that at least 10 vehicles, as we've witnessed this, and you're looking at live pictures again, on the 15 freeway in the El Cajon Pass there, we've seen several cars burning, we've seen a semi-truck burning, and the terror of this is that between these separate fires of groups of vehicles that are burning, you have a group of vehicles that are all stopped with nowhere to go. They can't go back, they can't go forward. And boy, I've never seen anything like this in terms of cars on the freeway burning like this.
Certainly haven't, and you might see one, but now we're going to send it over to Sabrina Fine with more on weather and how it's affecting that fire.
Right, so I just pulled up some of their current conditions out over towards San Bernardino, and you can see the humidity is fairly low, about 35%, but it's not at that critical level where we need that red flag warning or really for those fires to grow extremely quickly. That would be at about 15%. So that's some good news as far as what we're looking at here, not explosive growth. However, the winds are still breezy. That's going about 14 miles per hour. So any of those winds can actually pick up some of those embers and put it in other places, at least until the firefighters are able to get this under control. But at least this is not an extremely dry air mass. More humidity also coming in our forecast for tomorrow as well. Guys?
All right, Sabrina, thank you so much. And we're going to go back to those pictures and keep very close eye on that. Right now, though, we are going to shift gears momentarily.
Yes, we are. It was a routine call that quickly turned violent. Firefighters stabbed, nearly killed at a downtown trolley station.
The accused attacker, I should say, was in court today, along with newly released, dramatic, and incredibly clear surveillance video. San Diego 6's Jenny Day joins us live from the downtown courthouse with a look. Jenny.
It has also been a dramatic day of testimony. Every single eyewitness took the stand, and the defendant, Ryan Jones, appeared to be emotionless, but he was taking several pages of notes. Now take a look at this dramatic surveillance video that is sometimes hard to watch. It shows two San Diego firefighters being viciously attacked while on a call to help a sick man at an East Village trolley station. The defendant tells transit security he does not know the man but wanted to help. Firefighters say they told him multiple times to leave the scene and that they had it handled. They say he became aggressive and said he would not be intimidated. That's when the fire captain admittedly shoves the defendant over a cement bench and says Jones pulled a knife.
Clear, 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 clear.
You can just sense the intensity there. Prosecutors say Jones struck several transit security guards and stabbed at least two firefighters multiple times. One suffered a punctured lung. They also say he made several death threats. Jones has been charged with attempted murder. The attack ended with Jones being doused with pepper spray. Now, I personally spoke with these two firefighters just minutes before we came outside. They are not back at work yet, but they are doing much better physically. Now, this court hearing is actually still underway upstairs. The judge is trying to decide if there is enough evidence for Ryan Jones to stand trial. If he does, he is facing life in prison. Live downtown, Jenny Day, San Diego 6 News.
Jenny, thank you so much. Man who robbed a Michigan home has been caught, and it's all thanks to social media savvy. A Michigan woman used Facebook to track down a thief. The intruder was captured on camera, as you see here, as he leisurely walks in through the garage. He saunters around the space looking for things he can steal. At one point, he rolls out a generator, later comes back, reaches in a Corvette, and takes a necklace, then leaves. But he was later identified from this crystal clear picture from surveillance video.
When I seen the picture and how clear it was, all I could think was someone has to know him. I was getting contacted from numerous people, family members of the suspect, and all just giving me his name, addresses.
Ashley says she didn't know the homeowner but wanted to help. After posting his picture on social media, it was shared hundreds of times, and now the man is behind bars. Turns out he's a convicted felon with a pretty long rap sheet.
And we will be right back. We are following breaking news out of San Bernardino. We'll have more on that story after the break. And we continue to follow breaking news out of San Bernardino, where the North Fire has jumped the 15 freeway near the El Cajon Pass. We are looking at live pictures right now. Water-dropping planes are circling and cars are on fire. Started with 4, now we're up to 10. Have already burned. Right now, firefighters are urging drivers to stay in their cars as water drops can cause injury.
And just absolutely surreal images here along the 15 freeway through the El Cajon Pass. You're watching live as these vehicles burn on the freeway, and we are now hearing from reports out of Los Angeles that at least 5 people have burned. And reading this online, that's all it says. It doesn't tell us whether or not that's an injury, whether that's somebody that has lost their life. And this massive vegetation fire that started, first reported about 2:30 this afternoon, spread to about 50 acres within 30 minutes, and now we're at 500 acres having been burned. Mandatory evacuations have been ordered for
that's the Baldy community.
Baldy Mesa community. The closure of all southbound and northbound lanes of the 15 came about an hour ago, and we continue to watch as this fire appears to be spreading. At this point, the actual vegetation fire is not near the area where the cars are burning. We have another water drop, and remarkable in terms of the accuracy of that. But it appears that the fire is actually spreading from one vehicle to another.
And that thick black smoke tells you there's a lot of fuel there, and who knows what's in that tanker, but that looks like what is burning right now, at least the most intense fire that we see right now.
And as you said, people have been advised to stay in their vehicles, and when they go out to the wide shot, you can see that there are 2 points where the fire is burning intensely. Our producer's telling us fire crews trying to get to this area, as you can imagine, are stuck in traffic. I mean, it just becomes an untenable situation. But so you have these vehicles that are trapped on the freeway, people that are very close to this, watching this. They're being advised, apparently, and I'm not sure how in your car you're getting the message, maybe through the radio or a fire crew's walking around, telling them to stay in their vehicles. But as this continues, it would be a difficult thing to choose to stay in your car. You would want to get out and get yourself away from the flames. You sure would, but again, nowhere to go there. And we did hear just a moment ago that aircraft had been grounded due to drone activity, but again, we do see aircraft up in the air and fighting that fire. But we don't see firefighters on the ground. It looks like perhaps right now the aerial support is the only thing they have on that fire. Right. Of course, we can't confirm that. Well, as we said, the fire crew's trying to get there using the freeway, like everybody else. There's nowhere to go on the freeway because, as you can see, it's completely impacted. And we're watching now as this semi just appears to become completely engulfed from one end to the other. You can see the direction of the smoke. Sabrina, as you look at that and you were looking at the numbers out there, terrible wind out there, or what's the situation?
It is breezy. That is one bad situation, obviously, when it comes to this fire. If we could just focus on the positive, which would be the fact that it's not extremely dry. So there is enough moisture in there that's not going to allow this fire to grow explosively. So I know that the firefighters are having a hard time on the ground to get there, but maybe with some of the aerial support, if they're able to just continue to find water to drop on here.
In terms of the humidity, I understand what you're saying, and in terms of the greater brush fire, it gives them a hand up, so to speak.
Right.
But in terms of what's happening on the freeway, it seems like this is its own animal at this point. These, and say that again. Okay, fire officials are telling, if I heard that correctly, drivers, go ahead.
To leave their car, to leave the keys in the abandoned vehicles, we can only imagine, so they can move them and get them out of the way so they can get closer to that fire.
Gotcha.
I remember during the Poinsettia fire when I was trying to evacuate that alone, my greatest fear was having the fire come and get me because I was stuck on the road as well, having nowhere to go in all the traffic. So I can understand that. I feel like this is a great fear why so many people try to evacuate so quickly so that they can avoid this exact situation. And it's unfortunate that these cars weren't even necessarily trying to evacuate somewhere and just got stuck in this terrible nightmare.
Yeah, and in just the past couple of minutes here, we've seen the fire go from burning this semi-truck to completely engulfing it. It's becoming unrecognizable at this point, and you can see the vehicles parked around it. We don't know whether or not at this point people are still in those vehicles around it. Good chance that they may have already stepped out.
Well, we see, I feel like there's two people on the side. We can see some folks that have actually stepped out, but obviously it looks like there would be a lot more people out there if everyone had gone ahead and chosen to get out of their cars. I don't know where they go from here, though. Do they just go down the vegetation hill? I mean...
And you can see a fire hose working on it from one end, and it appears that those people that, you know, that are kind of walking up might be firefighters, but somebody's putting some water on it. And again, this happening at the El Cajon Pass, 15 freeway, a brush fire that was reported about 2:30 this afternoon, spread with such intensity that it actually caught cars and a semi on fire on the freeway, at least 10 vehicles burning. Local reports out of LA are at least 4 people have burned, that's the way it was described. Whether that means that they were injured by fire or lost their lives to fire, we don't know.
We're going to have Sabrina Fine join us now and tell us more about...
Well, I can focus on the fire. We have the same map here really to concentrate as far as the winds are concerned. So obviously it is breezy out there. When you look at the map, we're able to notice them still about 10 to 15 miles per hour, mostly throughout San Bernardino, sitting at that 14 mile per hour range. Now this is sustained. There could be some gusts isolated above that, but overall we are talking about 14 mile per hour winds. You can see the humidity is up into the 30% range. So it's not that critical 15%, which is one thing that will in fact help the firefighters out today, especially if they're actually able to get there on the ground as opposed to just fighting it from up above. Temperature-wise, it's warm across all of Southern California. For us, we're about 76 degrees into downtown Alpine 89, but numbers tomorrow are going to increase dramatically as we're forecasting even more humidity coming our way, breeding thunderstorms in the afternoon hours. As we watch this high-pressure system slowly begin to nudge itself further out toward the west, we'll be tapping into some monsoon moisture. We're also going to be tapping into some tropical moisture. Those two things are going to add to the unstable air mass, which could lead to some rainfall. I'm thinking right now anywhere from around a few 107 inches along the coastline, closer to 3/4 of an inch for the mountain areas. Even the deserts are going to get hit with some stuff as well. Our tropical moisture is all in part due to Dolores. You can see this storm system still well away from Mexico, and as it continues to push a little bit further away, we're still going to grab some of that moisture and pull it out into our general region, which is going to help us lead to some heavier rainfall. It does look like at this point the winds up above are not too strong, so we could see some downpours at times. Flash flooding may be a concern out toward the mountains. Tomorrow, 82 degrees along the coastline. Inland area is going for 92. It is not going to be a complete washout, though. It will be cloudy, but thunderstorms really in the afternoon to the evening. Mountains, the lower 80s, and the deserts, the low to mid 90s. Let's look at your 7-day forecast, guys. Back to you.
Sabrina, thank you.
Yes, and we do have one more update for you. The North Fire now at 2,000 acres and spreading rapidly. That from the San Bernardino fire officials there. We will have much more after the break. And we continue to follow breaking news out of San Bernardino, where the North Fire is now more than 2,000 acres. It jumped the 15 freeway near the Cajon Pass. We've been able to see water-dropping planes circling, several cars on fire, 10 as we last heard.
Counts up to 10. KTLA out of LA reporting that A boat apparently is on fire as well, and as we can see in these live pictures, a semi burning from one end to the other. Firefighters telling people that left their cars, as I'm sure many have to get to safety, to leave their keys behind in the vehicles so that they can move them. Fire crews that are trying to get to this area, and there are two distinct areas where vehicles are burning, are apparently having a lot of trouble getting there because, as you can see, the I-15 freeway is just completely blocked up.
And we did have reports that this was a multi-casualty fire, and again, we have reports from another agency that at least 5 people were burned.
That's right. At least I think it was 4, but, and again, we're looking for more information, but the way it was described was that 4 people had burned, but that didn't tell us whether or not they had lost their lives or whether they were injured by the fire.
That entire freeway shut down in both directions, and we do have heard of mandatory evacuations in the Baldy Mesa area, that's east of Sheep Creek. And firefighters say this is moving at a rapid rate, and we can certainly see that in the few minutes we've been watching it.
Right, a local high school has been set up as an evacuation area. You know, this freeway on a Friday afternoon can get stopped up anyway without putting any of this into the mix. The fire that started these vehicles on fire, as you can see, has burned through the area and has moved on. That's up to 500 acres at least right now in terms of it being a brush fire, and the surrounding evacuations of surrounding neighborhoods is because of that continued threat from the brush fire. But of course, the drama really taking place here on the freeway as we watch these vehicles, one after the other. It seemed one catching fire to the next, though that seems to have been stymied. We've seen the aircraft coming down with these water drops.
And they are actually now on the ground. I saw some video here closer up there with the firefighters actually able to spray the water there on that semi-tractor truck. So the good part is that they are able, there's not a whole lot out there, but they're slowly working their way to fight this, at least on the ground as well.
And as you were saying, in terms of the humidity, that's on the side of firefighters today. We have relatively high humidity.
The humidity, it's not extremely muggy out there, but it's also not extremely dry. So if this fire is growing quickly now, if it was very dry, it would be exponential how fast this thing could grow. So that's somewhat helping out firefighters right now. The winds are a little bit breezy, though. At times they could gust a little bit as well.
In a sense, though, it's a statement of just how volatile California, Southern California is. Even though we do have humidity on our side, we still have the potential for something like this to spark.
The brush is really dry because we haven't had so much rain, just the ground itself. So there is a lot of dry fuel there, at least on the ground.
All right, just incredible live pictures here. We'll continue to follow this. We will have the very latest for you on San Diego 6 News tonight at 10. We thank you for joining us this afternoon. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you tonight.
See you later.